Why do you feel like you're running full speed but going nowhere? Why does it seem like the harder you grind, the further success drifts away from you? And when you're alone with your thoughts, do you ever wonder if maybe, just maybe, you're building someone else's dream while your own life stays paused? You wake up early, you hustle late, you check off tasks like a machine, yet inside, it still feels empty. You're checking every box, but your breakthrough never shows up. You're doing everything right, so why does it still feel wrong? Here's the truth no one tells you. Effort without alignment is wasted motion. You're pushing, yes, but are you pulling anything in? Are you moving from pressure or from purpose? Because there's a reason some people seem to attract success like gravity, while others chase it like a ghost. The reason is this: success is not something you chase, it's something you attract by who you become. And right now, the version of you showing up to the world isn't commanding results. It's requesting permission. You're working from fear, not power. From lack, not abundance. From doubt, not belief. And that misalignment, that's the wall between you and everything you say you want. So stop, right now. Stop running on a broken loop. Stop thinking more pressure will finally unlock the door. Start thinking like the person who already has the keys. Start becoming the version of you who no longer needs to hustle for worth, because he already knows he is the source. The shift is not in the world. It's in your frequency. It's not in your grind. It's in your gravity. You don't find success. You don't chase it. You embody it. And when you do, it comes to you. They told you hard work was the answer, didn't they? That if you just kept your head down, showed up, grinded longer than everyone else, success would eventually find you. But here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. If effort alone guaranteed results, wouldn't the most exhausted people be the most successful? Wouldn't the single mum working 2 jobs be a millionaire? Wouldn't the warehouse worker, the teacher pulling 14-hour days, the man breaking his back for decades already have the life of his dreams? But they don't. And deep down you felt it, haven't you? That slow burning frustration. You're doing everything right, or so you were told. You're disciplined, you hustle, you sacrifice sleep, time, peace, and yet life doesn't seem to pay you back in the currency of freedom. Why? Because you were handed a broken formula, and it's time we shatter it. Success does not reward effort alone. It rewards intelligent alignment. Alignment between who you are, how you think, what you believe, and what you build. You see, work is not what makes people rich. Belief is, strategy is, self-image is. You're not paid for hours, you're paid for value. You're not rewarded for movement, you're rewarded for direction. I want to tell you about Michael. Not a billionaire, not a guru, just a guy from Queens who did everything right. Worked his way up in a company for 10 years, showed up early, stayed late, never complained. But while his paycheck rose by cents, someone newer, less experienced, leapfrogged into leadership in 6 months. Why? Because that person walked in already believing they belonged at the top. Because they built value around vision. Because they understood that success doesn't wait for permission. It follows conviction. And when Michael finally asked his manager why he kept being passed up, do you know what he heard? You're reliable, but you don't own anything. Let that sink in. You don't rise by being busy, you rise by being valuable. You don't grow by being available, you grow by being undeniable. Here's the myth that's kept too many brilliant people broke and burned out, that the grind will save you. No, my friend, the grind will bury you if you don't stop and ask, is this aligned with the version of me that I'm becoming? So I'll ask you directly, who told you hard work was the path? Who told you effort was more important than identity? Who told you to value sweat more than vision? And what if that was never true? What if success doesn't care how hard you try, only how clear you are? The emotional peak hits here, because the world is full of talented people still stuck, and unless you choose to think differently, you'll wake up 10 years from now and realize you traded your life for labor, but never leveled up your identity. The mind doesn't reward repetition, it rewards reprogramming. So what's coming next matters, because now you know there's a deeper game being played, and from this moment on, you're not here to follow the myth, you're here to break it. Transition, and that begins with the single most powerful shift a human being can make, activating the inner blueprint that has been buried under years of conditioning, fear and obedience. You can't outperform the blueprint running in the background of your mind. And most people, they're running on blueprints they didn't even design, hand-me-down ideas, childhood echoes, a lifetime of you can't, you're not, people like us don't. But here's what they were never told. Your life isn't built on effort first, it's built on identity. And if the identity doesn't change, nothing else will. Let me ask you something personal. When you wake up, do you feel like the man who deserves what he dreams of? Or do you feel like the man who's still pretending, hoping no one notices the doubt in his eyes? Be honest, because this next part, this isn't strategy, this is surgery. Let me tell you a story about a guy named Matt, just an ordinary guy from New Jersey, smart, disciplined, but stuck. He followed every self-help book, every morning routine, every productivity hack, and yet something always felt off, like success was close, but never close enough to touch. One day, during a quiet breakdown, Matt heard something in a podcast that cracked something open in him. The speaker said, "You don't get what you want, you get what you are." And that line hit like thunder. Because here's the truth. You've been setting goals from a broken identity, trying to build a mansion on a cracked foundation. And it doesn't matter how many tools you use, how many hours you put in. If your subconscious blueprint says, "I'm not good enough," it will find a way to pull you back every single time. That's not sabotage, that's programming. And the most dangerous part, you'll think it's you. Let that sink in. Because most people never question the operating system. They just blame themselves when nothing works. But you're different now. You're ready to rewrite it. The emotional peak starts here. Imagine waking up and every cell in your body already believes you're the kind of man who wins. Not hoping, not faking, knowing. That's the power of activating your inner blueprint. Because once you believe differently, you start showing up differently. You walk into rooms with calm certainty. You speak with no need to impress. You execute without hesitation. That's not confidence. That's identity alignment. And here's the mysterious, almost magical truth. When your self-image upgrades, your results follow. Because your brain doesn't chase what's unfamiliar. It seeks to confirm what it believes is true. So if your mind believes, "I always find a way," guess what? You will. If it believes, "I'm the one who gets chosen," you will be. But if your inner blueprint still whispers you're not enough, it won't matter what you do. It will quietly close the doors you're trying to force open. So how do we change it? We start with what you tell yourself every day. Not casually, but religiously. We use repetition, affirmation, visualization. We speak new truths with emotion until the old ones can't survive. You write the identity you want like a script. You speak it aloud like a soldier preparing for war. Not once, daily, not with doubt, with fire. You become the man who doesn't just chase greatness. You become the man who embodies it. And here's your warning. The old you, he will fight this. He will scream through hesitation, fear, procrastination. He'll try to wear your face and sound like your logic. But don't believe him. That's not your intuition. That's your old program begging for survival. So make it clear he's not welcome here anymore. Because once you activate this new blueprint, you won't have to force your future. You'll attract it. You'll move through life like the results are already yours. Because in your mind, they are. And that's the shift no one teaches in school. Your life bends to the identity you rehearse, not the one you inherited. So write it, speak it, live it. Because the next version of you, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who dominates, the one who walks into success like he belongs there, he's already inside. He's just waiting for you to let him out. You ready? Good. Because what comes next is the alignment of mind and emotion. And when that happens, you become unstoppable. You can think all the right thoughts, read all the right books, repeat every affirmation like a mantra. But if your emotions don't agree, your life won't change. This is the silent war most people lose because they don't understand this one truth. Your mind sets the direction, but your emotions fuel the engine. And if they're not aligned, you stall out, you spin your wheels, you burn out chasing something your system isn't wired to hold. Let me ask you something raw. How many times have you said the words, "I believe in myself," while your chest still held fear, while your breath still felt shallow, while some quiet voice inside whispered, "You're faking it"? How many times did you try to take action only to feel resistance that had nothing to do with logic and everything to do with emotion? That resistance isn't weakness, it's misalignment. There was a man named Michael, Brooklyn born, father left early, life didn't give him much. But Michael had ambition, he was sharp, read Think and Grow Rich 3 times, had vision boards on every wall. But no matter how hard he worked, success slipped through his hands. It wasn't until a mentor said to him, "You're thinking like a king, but feeling like a beggar. And life listens to how you feel, not just what you say." That hit him, and maybe it hits you too. Because we live in a culture obsessed with mindset but afraid to feel, obsessed with logic but disconnected from inner truth. But here's the fact, emotion is energy, and energy attracts. If you feel desperate, the universe hears desperation. If you feel lack, it mirrors scarcity. That's why action without emotional alignment creates burnout. Why forced positivity doesn't last. Because you're not just manifesting from your thoughts, you're manifesting from your state. So what does it mean to align? It means your thoughts speak one thing, and your nervous system believes it. You don't just say, I am powerful. You feel grounded in your body when you say it. You don't just visualize abundance. You feel relaxed and worthy while you do. You don't just hope, you embody. And here's where most people fail. They try to leap into belief while dragging the weight of past trauma, self-doubt, fear, shame. They affirm success while their nervous system is still wired for survival. But you can't build a future while clinging to emotional fragments of your past. The body must agree with the vision. The nervous system must say, yes, I'm safe here, I belong here, I can hold this. This is the emotional peak. What if your dreams aren't being delayed by doubt, but by emotional unworthiness? What if the only thing between you and breakthrough is your ability to feel safe in the life you want? Because make no mistake, your nervous system will reject anything that doesn't feel familiar, even success, even happiness, even love. If your body is wired for chaos, then peace will feel like a threat. If your identity is still rooted in struggle, then ease will feel like a lie. And until you rewire that, nothing sticks. So how do you align? You start by slowing down, by listening to your body, by recognizing the signals, noticing when tension rises after a compliment, when fear floods you before risk, when guilt follows joy. Those aren't random, those are clues. And with awareness comes choice. You breathe into the emotion. You regulate, you pause before reaction. You train your body to feel safe with power, safe with peace, safe with worthiness. That is emotional mastery. And now, here's the climax, the revelation most never hear. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you're willing to feel. If you can feel abundance before the money comes, it will. If you can feel success before the results appear, they'll show up. If you can feel loved, whole, grounded right now, your life will reorganize around that energy. This is not just emotional intelligence. This is emotional alignment. And it is the bridge between inner work and outer results. So stop asking what you need to do. Start asking, who do I need to feel like today? Because the man who walks with certainty isn't lucky. He's aligned, and the world moves for men like that. Let me ask you something real. When was the last time you truly changed something without first becoming someone else? When was the last time your actions felt so new, so unfamiliar, that you barely recognized the person doing them? Because that's the shift that turns dreams into inevitabilities. You don't get a new life with the same behavior. You don't unlock your next level by dragging your old habits with you like dead weight. And you sure as hell don't cross into greatness walking like the man still scared of risk. At some point, you have to decide to break character, because the version of you that's been showing up, he's predictable, he's careful, he knows every excuse by heart, he waits for clarity before moving, he waits for motivation to act, he waits, and life keeps passing him by. But then there's the shift, and it's not gradual, it's quantum. It's that moment where you wake up and say, I'm done being familiar with failure. I'm done negotiating with fear. I'm done letting yesterday's version of me decide what happens next. This shift, it doesn't ask for evidence. It asks for a decision, a clean break, a silent vow, a private contract with yourself that no one else needs to see, but everyone will feel. Because once you commit, once you act from the identity you want, not the one you've worn, everything starts to bend. Behavior, results, even the way people look at you. That's the mystery most never solve. You don't act your way into belief. You decide your way into behavior, and the behavior becomes the belief. So you walk differently. You speak less, but with more authority. You stop explaining yourself to people who aren't building what you're building. You move like the outcome is already done, because energetically it is. But here's the warning. If you don't act now, your subconscious will pull you back. It will say, stay the same. It will seduce you with comfort and call it safety. And if you listen, you will shrink again. So today, change something drastically. Interrupt your pattern. Cancel the plan you always default to. Say no to the thing you always tolerate. Wake up 1 hour earlier and make it sacred. Eat like you respect your future. Speak like you already have influence. Work like your last name is legacy. Because when your actions evolve faster than your fear can react, that's when the shift sticks. One move, one decision, one behavior that says, the old me is gone, and I'm not negotiating with him anymore. That's the quantum shift. And when you make it, life doesn't recognize you as who you were. It rewards you as who you've become. Let me tell you the truth, no one claps for the real transformation. It doesn't happen on stage. It doesn't happen in public. It doesn't even happen when the world is watching. The real change, the kind that rewires your future, it happens when no one sees it, when no one knows it, when no one's applauding. But the results, the results show up later like thunder from a lightning strike no one heard. You think greatness is loud. You think power announces itself. It doesn't. Power moves in silence. Greatness grows in the shadows. Success is born from 1,000 quiet decisions stacked in the dark, long before the spotlight ever finds you. The problem is most people can't handle the silence. They mistake the lack of applause for a lack of progress. They do one new habit for 3 days, and when no one notices, they quit. They go to the gym twice, don't see abs, and call it a waste. They write 2 pages, don't get a book deal, and say maybe it's not for me. But here's what the legends know. The invisible becomes visible only through consistency. Let me tell you about Jack. Jack wasn't flashy. Jack didn't post every win, didn't brag about every step, but Jack made a decision to do the work whether it got noticed or not. For 6 months, he woke up at 5 a.m., not because the world was watching, because the old version of him was, and he was done being haunted by the man who kept breaking his own word. Day by day, Jack showed up. No recognition, no spotlight, just sweat and silence, and then one day, everything changed. He didn't even see it coming. But the weight felt lighter, the words flowed smoother, the deals started to land. People started asking, what changed? They didn't see that the early mornings, they didn't see the discipline, they only saw the result, because that's how it works. Invisible effort, visible transformation. Now, here's the warning most ignore. If you only move when there's applause, you'll only grow when people are watching. And that's a prison, because the moment attention fades, so does your momentum. So ask yourself, are you building for optics, or are you building for outcome? The greats, the ones who last, they train in silence. They develop rituals no one claps for, and those rituals become armor, confidence, an identity so strong it doesn't need validation. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Every rep you do when no one's counting matters. Every chapter you write that no one reads matters. Every early morning you rise when no one notices matters. Because it's not the loud actions that change your life. It's the quiet ones, done on repeat with conviction. And when you start stacking those silent wins, the results get loud. They show up in how you carry yourself, in the way you speak, in the way the room shifts when you walk in. So if today feels invisible, good. That means you're in the process. That means you're exactly where greatness begins. Now, move, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching, because the results, oh, they're coming. And when they arrive, they won't ask permission. They'll just prove you are building something all along. Look around you. Seriously, pause and look. What's on your desk? Who's in your phone? What conversations are echoing in your ear when you're not paying attention? Because whether you realize it or not, your environment is not just influencing you, it's defining you. You say you want success, you say you want focus, discipline, a new level. But what does your environment say back? See, your environment doesn't lie. It doesn't care what you intend. It reflects what you allow. It reflects your identity. If your room is cluttered, if your car looks like chaos, if your schedule is filled with distractions masked as obligations, that's not a coincidence. That's feedback. That's the mirror you've been avoiding. Let me tell you about Ryan. No one knew who Ryan was, just a quiet kid from Jersey trying to make something of himself. But his life was stuck. Not because he lacked ambition, not because he didn't care, but because every single day he was surrounded by reminders of the old version of himself. Junk food in the kitchen, notifications buzzing from friends still stuck in the same stories, a room filled with things he didn't use, didn't need, didn't even like. It was like his entire life was whispering, stay the same. Until one morning he snapped, no dramatic breakdown, just a realization. If I don't change the space I live in, it will keep shaping who I am. He cleaned his apartment like it was war, deleted numbers, unfollowed half his feed, rearranged his entire setup. One intention, everything around me must reflect where I'm going, not where I've been. And that's when it happened. The way he moved changed. The way he thought changed. The momentum kicked in, not from some motivational speech, not from another planner, but from evidence, from a room that finally aligned with the man he was becoming. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. You will never outgrow your environment. You will never rise above the standard of the space you immerse yourself in daily. The people, the energy, the visuals, the inputs, it all matters more than you think. You don't become a champion in a lazy environment. You don't build clarity in the middle of chaos. You don't find your next level when your surroundings still belong to your last one. So ask yourself, what's the evidence around you right now? Do your walls inspire you or drain you? Do your friends elevate your focus or pull you back into distraction? Does your digital space Your phone, your music, your media match your mission, or does it numb it? Because your environment is not passive. It's not neutral. It is either building you or breaking you. It's either reinforcing the habits that lead to your vision or reinforcing the excuses that keep you stuck. And here's the most dangerous lie of all. I can handle it. You can't. No one can. Willpower weakens over time. But environment is 24/7 reinforcement. So here's your challenge. Audit ruthlessly. Walk through your space like a stranger. Touch every object. Check every subscription. Look at every relationship. If it doesn't match your future, it's working against it. Change it. Because when you align your surroundings with your next level stops feeling so far away. That's the power of environment. It becomes evidence. And the man who builds evidence doesn't need motivation. He wakes up, sees it all around him, and moves. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. When was the last time you gave more than you expected to get? Not just your time, but your presence. Not just effort, but excellence. Not just words, but real value. Because in this world, especially the one we live in now, contribution is currency. And most people, they're emotionally bankrupt. You want to rise, you want to build a life that doesn't just survive, but commands respect. Then you need to rewire this one fundamental belief. You don't get what you want, you get what you give. Look around. We're living in a culture obsessed with taking. Everyone's in a rush to get paid, get likes, get credit. But nobody wants to serve. Nobody wants to go first. Nobody wants to contribute without a scoreboard tracking applause. And that's why most people stay exactly where they are, exhausted by hustle, paralyzed by entitlement, waiting for something that's never coming. But then there's another way. The man who understands that success isn't something you beg for. It's something you become worthy of. And worthiness is built through contribution. Let me tell you about Jake, average guy, mid-30s, 9 to 5, tired of being invisible. He wasn't the smartest in the room, didn't come from money, didn't have a mentor, but one thing changed his trajectory. He made a decision to give more. He showed up early without being asked, stayed late without complaining, helped his team win even when he wasn't getting the spotlight, shared his best ideas without ego. People started noticing. Opportunities started following. Why? Because his contribution made him valuable, and value always gets paid back, just not on your timeline. Let this burn in. The universe always settles its debts. It may take time, it may not show up how you expected, but it returns what you invest. With interest, you want better relationships, give more love, you want more respect, give more value, you want financial overflow. Serve so powerfully they can't forget your name. Stop chasing attention, start becoming indispensable. And here's where most people mess up. They confuse contribution with convenience. They think giving is doing what's expected. But real contribution starts after the checklist ends. It begins when no one's watching, when no one says thank you, when the reward isn't guaranteed. That's the test. That's the dividing line. Do you move with excellence even when there's no applause? Do you give the best of yourself when no one's keeping score? Because if the answer is no, you're not building success. You're just auditioning for approval. And approval fades. But impact, that lasts. Here's the turning point. Contribution is not charity. It's strategy. When you contribute, you activate a law far older than hustle culture, the law of return. When you pour out value, real, intentional, solution-based value, you become a magnet for the very things people think are scarce. Trust, influence, opportunity. You don't need to shout for attention. You become the signal in a world of noise. You become the one people want to call, the one they need to keep, the one they can't replace. And that brings us here to a warning. If you withhold your gift waiting for the perfect time, you're not just delaying your results, you're robbing the world of what only you can give. And worse, you're starving your own spirit, because you weren't designed to just get, you were built to give. Your spirit doesn't grow from consuming, it expands when you contribute. And the more you give with integrity, the more the world aligns with your elevation. So here's your shift. From this day forward, don't ask, what's in it for me? Ask, how can I add value right now with what I already have? Give more than you're paid for. Speak life into people even when you're tired. Offer solutions when others complain. Be generous with your ideas, your time, your talent. Not out of desperation, out of identity. Because when contribution becomes your currency, wealth, power, influence, they're no longer goals. They're just receipts. You've heard every word. You've walked through the doubt, the chaos, the unknown. And if you've made it this far, it's not because you stumbled here by accident. It's because some part of you, some deeper, truer part, was ready. ready to stop pretending, ready to stop chasing, ready to finally become. Because this was never about motivation. This was never about inspiration. This was a reminder, a return, a reawakening of something inside you that you've always known, but maybe forgot in the noise. Let's be clear, success is not some mystical force hiding behind a locked door, waiting to be earned by the perfect plan or the perfect past. Success is not out there, it's already in you. But here's the catch, it doesn't show up until you do. Fully, boldly, repeatedly. Not when it's convenient, not when the conditions are perfect, but when you choose to walk like it's already yours. When you decide to carry the identity before the world ever validates it. This entire journey has been about one thing, shifting from external struggle to internal power, from needing to be chosen to choosing yourself, from hoping it works out to moving like it already has. Because you don't get what you want, you get what you believe. And belief isn't some fluffy idea. It's not a good mood. It's the discipline of walking in alignment with a decision you already made, on the days when it's easy and especially on the days when it's not. So here's what I want you to remember. You weren't made to fit in. You weren't built to beg. You weren't designed to blend into mediocrity. No, you were made to focus, to build, to lead. You were made to walk into rooms and command presence before you say a word. You were made to step into your work with precision and purpose, like your name already belongs on the door. You were made to shift from a man who waits to a man who walks. This is where everything changes. Not when your bank account hits a number, not when someone claps for you, not when the evidence finally shows up. Now, right now, when you decide to act in full alignment with the person you've claimed to be, when you stop revisiting decisions you've already made, when you stop negotiating with distractions and start embodying your final form. The man who doesn't waver, the woman who doesn't flinch, the leader who doesn't apologize for their vision. This is embodied belief. This is what separates the ones who wish from the ones who win. And if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. The hesitation ends here. The self-doubt dies here. The version of you who needed permission, who asked for validation, who hoped someone would come rescue them, that version gets buried today. Because you finally remembered who you are. You remembered that you don't need to prove your worth. You need to embody it. You remembered that your presence doesn't require noise. It requires consistency. You remembered that the only way to rise is to stop shrinking. So I want you to do something right now. Comment the word focus. Not as a throwaway, not as a trend, as a contract. Between you and your future, between you and the life that's waiting to meet you on the other side of your consistency. Say it out loud if you have to. I am focused. I don't chase. I become. I don't fear. I build. I don't flinch. I finish. Because once you move from fear to belief, once you stop chasing results and start embodying the outcome, once you walk like it's done before the world ever sees it, the world catches up. That's the power of embodied belief. It doesn't demand attention, it commands it. So walk like you've already arrived. Speak like the vision already happened. Build like the future is depending on it, because it is. And if you ever forget who you are, come back to this moment. Play this again. Not for motivation, but for memory. You don't need another reason. You already have the decision. Now go build the proof. Because the man or woman who moves with certainty, they never chase success, they attract it. And now, so will you.